Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah, you are now rocking with the best. You are now entering into A-Deuce territory. Comprised.
When I look at you, I know I want to be with you forever, baby. I love you. But I don't want to let you go either. So why don't we all make this work?
To be or not to be, baby, that was a question. Cause when we met, we was looking for a direction. Can't front, when I saw your body caught my attention. Not to mention, I was really looking for some affection. That was a section of my life on suspension. I was tossing shorties up like a sexual engine, fucking and Frenching, just like a dark art henchman. But when she hit me with the bomb, it got me thinking. She suggested another potential sister and lover. And with this other in the covers, maybe we both a lover. And now, I'm thinking, damn, how? So we could all get a room and get down. But wait, should I debate what if shorty's a flick? But if I hesitate, it might be too late. Should I contemplate and await the fate? If all this ice I just gave, let the pussy marry me and polyamory. There was another way to be, more than polygamy. There was another way to see, although we could be. Instead of two, it was a three. But everything we see ain't what it appeared to be a polyamory.
I need you to have you in my life. Don't care what people say. I'll be your otherwise.
About 3 months later was as long as she could wait her. She told me about this girl that she knew from Jamaica with some nice firm titties and with very little makeup. We all had dinner, started hanging out for later. But maybe I should date her first myself, collect the data. The thought of being with both that once outweighed her. A rational perception of the sequence of events. I really didn't care about the secrets or pretense. To make a long story short, it came down to one night that we was puffing on a tree, all feeling alright. One to buckle my pants, the other started to dance. Both was giving me head, vaginas full of my hands. The sex was sticky and wet. They started sucking their breasts, one position to the next. When we finally fell asleep, I was looking at the dawn, thinking, damn, this shit was really long. Polyamory, it was another way to be, more than polygamy. It was another way to see, although we could be. Instead of two, it was a three. But everything we see ain't what it appeared to be a polyamory.
I need you to have you in my life. Don't care what people say. I'll be your otherwise.
See, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. I had no idea what this relationship was headed. I really didn't care, so as both of them was there. Thought that we was building something cause they bodies and shit. Intimate liaisons, the sex amazing. But they both was keeping secrets like a larger mason. Competing with one another while using me as the other. I was the envy of my brothers, but they started to smother. See, it wanted me to choose, either way I would lose. Lies come in many hues, but ugliness rules. So in the end, I had to stop cause the other shoe dropped. So I had to clean up the spot like a janitor's mop. But hey, I can't complain, there was no shame in my game. Doing the threesome maintain, but you come on the cane. The aim of the game is to say what you mean, but even do what you feel, but make sure you keep it real and polyamory. It was another way to be, more than polygamy. It was another way to see, although we could be. Instead of two, it was a three. But everything we see ain't what it appeared to be a polyamory.
I need you to have you in my life. Don't care what people say. I'll be your otherwise. I need you to have you in my life. Don't care what people say. I'll be your otherwise. I just need me for you. Even if she's with you, you should be with me too. You know that I don't care, even when people stare. You love so good, I share. Do it, baby.
What's up, everybody? You now tuned in live to Super Heru Radio. I am your host, Aseer the Duke of Tears, my co-host, Selena, Empress of 10,000 Years, or more, side by side. Peace to all human families of the planet Earth. We definitely love and respect the fact that you guys are here again. Thank you for coming through. And you know how we do. We strive to keep it as live and accurate as possible without getting too caught up in the mundanity, but at the same time showing that there's more to everything that's going on in meets the eye. We definitely want to give a shout out to anybody who lost anybody this past week or these past couple of weeks. shit is getting thick. And we also want to give shouts and praise to those people who are on a lockdown situation right now, or how going back and forth, taking that long bus ride up to see your peeps that may be incarcerated, all those people that may be incarcerated or maybe on their way to being that. We want to say peace to you, and inshallah, we find a way to get everybody out. Because to keep it real, nobody needs to be in jail more than the puppeteers and orchestrators of this fictitious government, this fictitious reality we call the United States of America, a.k.a. Western civilization. So with all that being said, you know how we do. We always get into the main frame of what's going on in the day. And one of the biggest things that really pissed me off is that I saw this thing now where we talked about on the radio again, at Super Heru Radio a couple of weeks ago, and talking about how they're working to desensitize. I'm about to. How they basically desensitized and got everybody basically caught up to the fact that they want to create a system in which we all grow up in jail, you know what I'm saying? And in a way of trying to make jails or incarceration like a cool thing. So what they've just done recently, or what they're trying to implement in some states, is that kids who haven't seen their fathers or whoever's been locked up, they get to create almost like a summer camp thing where the kids now can go to jail and spend the summer with their incarcerated parent, okay? Now, this is what shows you that we really don't have any control, well, not us, but those people who consider themselves active in the community, these niggas need to be laughed at, because they have created a situation now where they're trying to desensitize not only your child, but they're trying to desensitize our community to accept prison as a goddamn summer camp. Now, I don't know if anybody else has a problem with that. Now, this is not to say that people should not see their parents when they locked up, when they stop doing, in situations like that. That's not the spirit, man. There's no way that you could sell this, but yet they're still doing it because, again, we as black people, we're not as organized as we can. And unfortunately, jail has become almost like the culture for black people in the day in America, as if to say that, like, because the legal system, we are the legal system, first of all, number one. Number two is everything in the legal system is based upon getting us to accept hard time, while these crackers and these other people get no time, basically. So I don't know why this is now seen as a new viable means of bringing families together when all they need to do is create a system for those people. They said 90% of the people in jail right now are there for nonviolent offense, which means that most people that are in jail right now are there for drugs, either using drugs, about to distribute drugs, or something else. You know what I'm saying? So they're trying to create a system. You have to do that. You know what I'm saying? They created this system in which now, like I said, it's all good. So I don't know about you, but I think that this is really, really indicative to what we were saying in terms of them working to create a system where they could get studios and stores and malls, all that shit inside of a gated or prison community. They started working on the prison community mentality complex under a government funded Department of Defense program referred to as Operation Heartbreak Hotel. And this is when they basically created the system in which they want to perpetually, through incrementalism, get black people to accept imprisonment on a mass scale. And one of the ways to do that was when they first started in Atlanta, in the mid-'90s or early '90s, when they started building all of those communities. And they started getting everybody to start to move out of their own neighborhoods or whatever, and they move into these gated communities in which they would basically be locked away. Meanwhile, the areas that they moved out to got regentrified, and they turned them into suburbs for out-of-town white folks that were now starting to relocate to Atlanta. Because the whole big thing in the mid-'90s about everybody moving to Atlanta, everybody moved to Atlanta, that's the new Atlantis, all that. All of that was all based upon a program. Like I said, if you don't believe me, do the announce to Operation Heartbreak Hotel if you can get a Freedom of Information Act on it. and they'll give you the artifices and how they broke down. Also, you can get a document called you can look up Lookout Mountain or documents or protocols from Iron Mountain and see what comes up. But long story short, this is what they're doing to, and again, desensitize and get original people to start to think of themselves inside of a prison, okay? The fact that they are now trying to turn prisons, again, into summer camps for families who haven't seen their families and fathers and mothers who have been incarcerated, that's great, but there got to be another way to do that as opposed to bringing a child to jail. But again, America, the United States, the so-called United States government, the satanic United States government, and everybody in it, including Michelle, including the fucking president, including all of the black people, including Holder, including all of these niggas that's up in there, because these niggas ain't doing nothing for you or me. I'm telling you, man. Don't get it twisted. Don't think. Sure. You find them. You know what I'm saying? Don't get it twisted. These people do not have your best interest in mind. Again, they have, since in the past 3 months, there's been over 25 different shootings. Cool. That's cool. 25 different shootings, man, of black men by police. Okay? And ain't nobody marching, ain't nobody doing nothing. To the point now in Philly, shout out to all the warriors and the soldiers in Philly holding it down, they are now implemented a curfew. They got a curfew now that says that if you out on the street like that and you are a youth under X amount of age, and this curfew is only indicative to people in the ghetto. They ain't curfewing these white cats in the suburbs in Philly, in the Philadelphia suburbs, who, number one, are the most proliferators of drugs and crack and everything else. You see what I'm saying? They ain't giving them no curfew, but yet still everybody in Philly got to be home by 9 o'clock or else. You either get arrested, get a fine. If you're a parent and they find your child out like that, they could come to your house, arrest you, or fine you. But again, they ain't doing this to no crackers. They ain't doing this to no Caucasian people. Or at least that's not what they show on TV, to the point even with the riots. They said most of the people that was in the riots that was going down, it started with a black man, was white folk. White folk wilding. But who gets the blame? Who gets the rap? The black man. To the point that a couple of weeks ago we went into the niggerization of the white race. And I got some emails behind that, which people say, oh, well, that's not really true, blah, blah, blah. Why, again, so improve, how is it then that a white geneticist and sociologist named Stackley came out and basically said that the reason why Western society is finished is because white people have become the new black people. And white people don't think like Caucasians anymore. White people think like, or are striving to learn to think like ethnic peoples, meaning black people. So what are we saying? We're saying that there is no such thing as, again, white people in that sense anymore. But the problem is that you got now these new white people who are these so-called black people who are now trying to out-white the white man. Okay? These are the people who are still petitioning to become part of the United States government, becoming police, becoming cops and armies and all this other shit. Meanwhile, we need real people in our community. We need people who actually know how to facilitate healing. We need a lot of different shit. Yet still, it seems that the more we need, the more we talk about what we need, and nothing gets fulfilled. Yet still, those people in the so-called, let's say, 85 world, let's say the Christian church, they said that shit is a multi-billion-dollar business. They said them creflo-dollar, Peter Popoff, these black devils that's putting all of this fake God knowledge out, Eddie Long, Ray Hagan, and the rest of these niggas. They said these niggas pull in at least collectively, Eddie Long, Peter Popoff, what's the other one? All them dudes, man. They said collectively them niggas pulled down $1.2 trillion, man. $billion. Annually. They said within a year, collectively, they'll all pull up, at least they'll all pull down over $100 million a year. So you add that up over the course of 5 years. And again, this is somebody who is known for sleeping with boys. This is somebody who's known for molesting people, and it ain't just him. He just the one that got caught probably because he didn't do what they may want him to do, and they decided to put the squeeze on him. But either way, he ain't special. It ain't like he the only one doing that. And see, back in the days, it was different. The black preacher was not the one sleeping with your child. That's the Catholic priest. The black preacher was the one sleeping with your wife. You see what I'm saying? Now they've degenerated this shit to the point where the wife ain't even good enough now. Now they trying to have sex with the son or the daughter or whoever else. Okay? This is not a coincidence. And again, this man is straight up indicted behind that shit. But because he got money and because, you know, these boys or whatever, these boys had him on tape. That's why he had to settle. They had him on tape. Okay? Having sex. And don't think they're going to be the last ones to come out. There's going to be some other ones that come out behind that because they're going to want their money too. But it is to say that we have deteriorated to the point that this shit is almost like a minstrel show with these people. And the only thing that is staying consistent is the police brutality, the killing of young black men, the killing of young black women. These things are not supposed to happen. These things are not. We have to, in a sense, get out of our minds that the shit that's going on is shit that's supposed to be going on, or shit that goes on is just a part of human reality. No, it's not. No, it's not, man. Child molestation on behalf of deviant sex and all types of shit, that shit has nothing to do with humanity. That has nothing to do with human consciousness of evolution. It's the exact reminiscent, the exact image of the opposite of that. What we are seeing in cases like that is the insanity that comes from living in Western civilization over a hard and prolonged period. You understand? It's not supposed to be like this. We're not supposed to be in situations in which we are scared. Like, I don't know what people are doing when it comes to school. That's why homeschooling and all that, we really need to get about that, man, really be about that. Because sending your child to regular school now is like Russian roulette, man. You don't know what they're going to come home with. They're going to come home with heroin. They have little kids bringing heroin to school. Where they doing all of this? And why is it only black kids doing shit like that? But let's flip the reverse. Let's talk about all of the rash of killings that's been going down in the college situation. They're not reporting this, but there's been a whole rash of killing. There was another killing since that dude Ishmael X. There's been 7 other instances of people in Virginia Tech College, University, coming out and shooting students to the point where it's almost like passe now. But they're not even really, like, beefing about this shit like it's a problem because they're not reporting it. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of shit is at a loss is basically what I'm saying. And when we really get down to the brass taxes of it, these are the things that are weighing in our community and are contributing to our discontent amongst each other. We have become so reliant upon Western civilization, meaning federalized civilization, that niggas have literally shut themselves down. Pineal function is almost laughable now with some of these people. They have literally shut themselves down to the point where we can't even protect ourselves in our own community. What's up with that? And then you wonder why you see all these sisters running to these white men, which is a trap too. But to keep it real, it's like if the niggas ain't holding shit down, then what they going to do? But on the other side of that, the flip side of that is that if the man don't feel supported by his woman, then what the fuck is he going to do anything for? Our roles have been grossly reorganized to the point of mental lunacy. We have allowed ourselves to be restructured and reworked to fit somebody else's idea of what we should be. These things are not indicative of a free and a sovereign people, regardless to who or what, regardless of how much paperwork you file, regardless of how much you recite in front of the judge and all this shit. It does not mean anything if the majority of your people are fucked up. It's not going to help us all. So, yeah, some of us will get through. Some will start to make certain things happen, but it's not going to be a collective. And that's really the power. You don't need a group to do everything, but it's nice if you have a group of people that are following the same accord for y'all to do things together every once in a while. See what they did in Lord of the Rings. Them niggas ain't chill with each other like that all the time. They only got together when they had to get rid of Sauron, right? And had they travel to Mordor and do all that crazy shit. Once they did all of that and the threat was gone, they went about their business. That is a fellowship. That is a collective. Even if I don't like you, even if I don't agree with what you're doing, even if I don't feel that what you're doing is conducive for everybody, if we could create a dialogue in which we can air our discourse without it devolving into shit like useless debate, useless meanderings, asinine presumptions, then at least we could decide, okay, well, nigga, you're not the smartest one in this shed, but you know how to fight. So what you could do is you could train these dudes to fight while I deal with these dudes and teach them how to understand tactics and strategy. Okay, you don't know how to do that, then you could do this. And everybody contribute to what they're supposed to do. But everybody want to act like what they are doing is the only way to go. And whenever I see people who put it out there like it's just them or what they doing, that's how I know that them niggas is part of the problem. You know? Like when it comes to things like readings and all of that, you got to be careful. You got to make sure that the people who are doing a reading, if you ever get a tarot reading and you're doing a reading in front of somebody, make sure that they're not dealing the cards from the bottom of the deck. Really watch these people when they're giving you these instances. You know? When you giving somebody the information to do their chart, and then let's say you give them their chart, you give them your information, your chart, and then you ask them, well, hey, what's your chart or whatever? You're like, oh, nah, I don't give that out. Don't get your chart done by that person. Don't give energy to nobody that's not willing to share that energy with you. That's the problem. We have been so beat up and traumatized by how people have been treating us for all of these years that we sometimes go all out to show people how much that we're willing to be open for them or open to do what they want to do or show that we're not tight about shit. It's like we always trying to show and prove or convince somebody as to what, who and what we are, and these people already know. It's not about, like when we get into paperwork and all that other shit, paperwork is not about you showing and proving shit to a judge. It has nothing to do with them niggas. You should not be filing paperwork or anything so that way you don't experience something, because that means you're going to experience it. Because everything in this reality is dualistic. Everything is the opposite of what it is said. The whole purpose of understanding the law is know how to that you and your people can benefit from it. But we are not dealing with lawful people. We are dealing with colorable law, the appearance of law that is not backed by anything substantial other than debt. Yet still, niggas still becoming lawyers. Niggas still finding ways to screw everybody over. So I guess what I'm saying, guys, is that a lot of the situations we find ourselves in because we don't really trust ourselves with certain shit. So in that, a lot of the rhetoric that is out there winds up getting lost or falling on deaf ears because it's hard for us to maintain consistency. Why? Because of the money. The ghetto, we have everything that we need already. We have everything that we need to pop off right now. The issue is a collectivity of things and the fact that for the things that we really want to do, we need funding. So the ghetto is full of talent, full of creativity, full of ingenuity, full of integrity, full of art, culture, mathematics, science, all of that, but no money to fund any of it. But when the money come in, where is it coming from? It's coming from the illegal sector. But back in the days, you used to have drug dealers that used to see young homies in the hood trying to come up, and they would basically fund them and keep them out the street. All of that changed when niggas started listening to 50 Cent. They said that I had a doctor client I did a reading for, and he told me one of the illest shit that he ever seen when they was going through, the killings in Kings County. He said if he had $1 for every time one young black male or usually black male come in there with a tattoo that said get rich or die trying, he said he would be a millionaire. This is the effect that has been having on our children. The fact that, between the mid-'90s and now, hip-hop was basically turned into a military application to get people to obsess on hyper-capitalism. The hyper-capitalism is what fluctuated the market, because you have all of these people throwing money and all this stuff into the face. But remember, these devils print money. So the money that these niggas are throwing at you in the video is really just evidence of the debt. You don't never see none of these niggas throwing gold bars at you. You don't never see these niggas throwing silver doubloons or gold dinars or sterling or 20-pound sterling at you. No, they're throwing you a bunch of debt. Davey upped the game when he started putting out stuff where he used to have the euros out there. But look at the euro now. Look at what's happening in Greece with all of that. All of that's done. So in the absence of family, one has to create family for yourself. As we said time and time again on the show, is that when you get this concept, as you start doing your thing, don't be surprised that most of the people against what you're building on and thinking about is your own people. We got to get past the fact of trying to show and prove people that they need to be about themselves and their culture in the proper manner. We're beyond that. Anybody that don't get it now don't want it. And that's fine. But you can't stop your progression up for somebody else to get it. So now that Standard & Poor's reduced the credit rating is saying that in order for them to actually be able to maintain the semblance of financial security, not only are they going to raise the taxes on the so-called poor and everybody else, they want to get rid of the entitlements. You've been hearing this term all around, entitlements. The entitlements that they talk about is the basic shit that deals with the poor in this country, which is Medicaid, Medicare, food stamps, and unemployment. They are saying that those things are the reason why you're in debt. So really what they're telling the American people is, because we have set up provisions for you, you guys are the reason why we're in debt. So you guys should be the ones to shoulder the debt. They didn't say that to the bankers. When the bankers fucked up everything and destroyed the whole economy and everything else, then all them niggas still got jobs. All them niggas are still getting tax breaks and all that. And your boy knew that. Your boy was the instrument in that. He has always been an instrument of Wall Street. That nigga don't give a damn about black people. None of these black leaders do. This is the first time in history that we, as human beings, or let's say as original people, have not had some form of, I don't want to use the term leader, but adequate representation on the world stage. Meaning, like, back in the days, you had Father Allah, you had Noble John Lee, you had Marcus Garvey, you had Elijah Muhammad, you had Daddy Gray, you had all these different people. The 60s was the killing field. That's where they just killed everybody. That's to the point that there was no leader. The only leader that was left after the 60s for the black people was who? Jesse Jackson. And you know what was down with him. You know he was down with the killing of King. You know he was down with the stealing all of that money from the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Everybody know that. Steve Coakley, big up to Steve Coakley. Please support him and his work and his research, because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't even know who the Boule was. But he was the one who put it out there explicitly. That's why you got niggas like Tavis Smiley and Cornel West now trying to come out and saying Obama's whack, when these are the same niggas that was up there bringing and singing his praises when he was first coming out. Because just because they in the Boule together don't necessarily mean that they all get down. And remember, those niggas in the Boule, they worship the white woman as God in the form of the white sphinx. So that means that everything they do is basically for the acquisition of Britannia, who they refer to as the Sphinx in the Boule thing. So that means that their God is the white woman. So when they get to a certain level and they move up and they get these white girls, that's basically them attaching themselves onto the deity that they already worship. So that way we can reconstitute and reincarnate themselves inside of her by coming out with this black baby, who is black in melanin and skin and all of that, but mentally, this is the issue. See, when we were the dominant one, we was, doing what we was doing and selling these white girls and all this other shit or whatever, we were the dominant political party or global ruling party. So there were certain things that we were not really caught up in, such as the understanding that we may be taken over, let's say, mentally, based upon our own degradation of our noble nature. We didn't think about that. So what I'm saying is that the role of the observer can sometimes be blinding, because if you're always looking at something and not participating, or vice versa, you're always participating but not observing what you're participating, then you could become the subject of whatever the issue or confrontation is. And that's what's happened. We have all become subject to what other people think and expect of us. Yet we don't really place that much emphasis on what we expect or want for or from ourselves. You have a lot of shows where people talk about, this is all of this type of stuff is happening, but what I always wanted to do, what we always wanted to do on this show, is to keep it as real and funky as we can. Because as powerful as we are still all works in progress, man. Nobody got the handle on this shit to the point where they could cook their own food by themselves. Food being the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that we all need to rise up out of our present situations. Yet our situations are what they are for a reason. And sometimes we can get too complacent by always reaching out for what we don't have. We don't pay attention to what we have or what we have accomplished. So, again, we're at a auspicious time in history to be able to see not only the changes and all this stuff, but actually see the wicked get punished for the BS that they be doing. You know what I'm saying? So we're at the stage now, like I said, where they don't really know how they're gonna move and run the world for the next couple of years. So what they're trying to do is set up little puppet governments or puppet states in the meantime, to create a buffer, almost a buffer type of government for them to kind of like fall into. Because according to their projections, like I said, India is supposed to be the number one democracy. Therefore, India would take over the American position. China would take over the Russian position. Now, remember, India already had beef with Pakistan based upon what they were going through with the war. And remember, nuclear, based upon the whole war that they fought with the United States and the Soviet Union through Afghanistan in the 80s, both India and Pakistan have nuclear bombs. They was on the verge of nuclear war maybe 6-7 months ago, and nobody was talking about it. Now, also, you got to look out for what's going on in Nigeria, because that's popping. Take it to where the rest of the stuff is, and don't drop it. That shit is getting real serious, and a lot of that is due to the fact that Nigeria was one of the only African nations in the world to indict Cheney. Cheney was indicted in Nigeria. Just like George Bush, after he left office, there were red notice printed on him. A red notice is an international warrant for the arrest of a former political personage. That's why certain countries he can't go to. A little while ago, you'll remember, he was stationed to go over there and speak in Switzerland or Norway or some shit, and then nigga said if he got off the plane, they was going to arrest him. That's because he has warrants. Him, Cheney, Wolfowitz, these niggas got warrants all over the planet, countries all over the planet, man. Because these people are criminals. There is no one in the United States government that is not down with it. Whether they realize it or not, when you get that job, man, again, if you're not on some who sat by the door shit and you're just trying to get your job, get your little check, stay in the government, like you got to understand what you're dealing with, man. You know what I'm saying? You really got to understand what you're dealing with, and that no one is innocent anymore, man. No one. Everybody is up to their nose in this shit. Because everybody likes to feel like what it is that they're doing is right. But just because it's right don't mean it's correct. Just like a supporter of the show a little while ago, talking, we were building, and we were talking about the war in Liberia. And specifically the fact that war in Liberia, again, was really a skull and bones CIA war. But also the fact that on top of it being all of that, or being that, it evolved very rapidly after a while. Even though it was over maybe 4 or 5 years, it really devolved into an occult, esoteric war. To the point that after a while you had men and women, people dressing up in costumes, because the thing in Liberia is that even though it was started by what they were referred to as the Freemasons in America as a means to bring quote-unquote slaves back there, the people that they brought back to Liberia actually were just in the beginning, you're talking about prisoners of war who were taken from the wars in Africa. So you're talking about people from different tribes who were bagged up, lumped together, and then put back on a boat and then sent back over to Africa in this new place that was now purchased for them, referred to as Liberia, named after Liberty. So you're not talking about a phenotypical or a certain group of a certain tribe. You're talking about people from different tribes lumped together to represent one quote-unquote tribe under the designation of African slaves, who were then put back on a boat and then brought back over to that place and then left to fend for themselves. So a lot of the different tribal ways that was basically there for those people to deal with started to get amalgamated, and a lot of them started working together and coming in together, on top of the fact that you had these white Freemasons, again, who was out there with their little fake Lucifer worship shit, trying to learn and glean little aspects of black magic from that. So by the time we get to our modern time period of this thing, everything is deteriorated to such a degree that Skull and Bones find it very easy for them to do what they refer to as war games over there by instigating the parameters of that, by hiring death squads and shit to go out there and start shooting people up or whatever, and then blaming it on the rival political party, which then fueled the people's anger against the political party, which then devolved everything into severe civil war, to the point that after a while it deteriorated, and then the voodoo aspect of it, or the magical aspect, started coming out, and they started dealing with the dark magic. So each clan or tribe, if you want to call them clan, tribe, or nation, all of them had their own devil. The devil in these cultures, in these Liberian cultures, whatever, is the main power source for the clan. So if your devil is bigger than my devil, then my devil has to fall and be subordinate to yours. Therefore, my clan or tribe has to then do the same thing or follow suit. So this thing devolved to the point that you had brothers dressing up in wedding gowns with AK-47s killing whole people. You have brothers dressing up as clowns. You have people basically putting on costumes. Like, it devolved into some whole other shit, right? To the point, to this day, they still have festivals in which every clan brings their devil out, and their devil is supposed to do whatever, dance or whatever, and it's supposed to entrance and train the people to feel a certain way. So above ground, the Christianity thing is there, but below that, you have this whole form of Satanism couched under African animism, used as a military political agenda to further isolate the people of Liberia and everybody else from themselves and make them more, in a sense, deteriorated into barbarity and savagery. And I'm just using that as an example because they did the same thing in Angola. They did the same thing in Uganda. They did the same thing in South America. They did the same thing in the Balkans. They did this. They do the same thing all the time. And when I say they or the proverbial they, I'm talking about the same people we always talk about because we've been dealing with the same people. It ain't no different, man. Whether it's the Boule, the Skull and Bones, whoever is there as a roadblock to your own spiritual progress is your enemy. It don't matter who and what fashion or form they come in. Funny thing is that there was a comic book called Grendel, and in Grendel, the whole thing is about this guy named Hunter Rose who was a millionaire and all of that or whatever, but decided that he was going to become the head of the underworld or whatever. And so he created the identity of Grendel to go in and basically kill everybody with impunity. So if you could imagine Spider-Man with a spear, you know what I'm saying, that's who this person would be. But eventually, after he died, the spirit of evil that he represented began to rise out and inhabit other people to the point that the Grendel, who they called the devils, wound up taking over the entire planet. And then everybody who was not a Grendel at one time basically became a Grendel. And so the idea of ultraviolence was a means of worship of the devil Grendel. The term Grendel comes from an old Welsh story called Beowulf or Beowulf. Now, we know the original Welsh people or Moors were originally Moorish. The story of Grendel comes from an old Moorish document called the Mabinogion. It's an old document that came from Brittany. Brittany today is what they refer to as southern France. Brittany, back in the days when the Moors was ruling that place, was called Armorica. Armorica. It was also called Moravia, where you get the Moravian church from. So they were an instrument. They originally were Moors, original people who migrated up from Uganda and brought a lot of that dark occult stuff with them, and that became the basis for what eventually became the Welsh ethics, as well as the basis of what we would today call modern Western magic, because all of that was inherited to them through the so-called Druids and the so-called Celtics, or what they call the Hallstatt Celts, Hallstatt, the Hallstatt Celts were the ones who basically brought that through. And these are black, original people. So essentially, again, we're still talking about us as we've gone through all these incarnations throughout the planet through the years. So now we're at a stage now where, in a sense, all bets is off. But because we are not in our original state or stay close to that, you know what I mean? A lot of things is falling victim. So the next phase of their whole thing now is this fictitious presidential election in which they're going to try to produce, well, before they do that, they're going to try to produce an heir apparent that's going to take over the Republican side, but they don't have anybody that people give a damn about enough. The only person they have is this chick named Bachman, and then this other dude named Rick Perry, who they all think about. They may try to inject Palin in there towards the end to give more, like, height to the whole thing, but she's not really to be taken seriously. So they don't really have anybody to go against this dude. And it's a basic foregone conclusion that it's very hard for them to stop an incumbent president, a sitting president, and actually get him in to be the so-called new president. So 10 chance to 1 he may be in there. If they don't decide to do some crazy shit to him prior to that, based upon that whole Tecumseh curse thing that we spoke about in the past as well. So, in dealing with all of that, we got to kind of just be patient with ourselves. And in these times, especially in this retrograde period right now, you have a lot of feelings of angst, like a lot of, like, anxiousness. It may be hard to sleep. It may be like the more you eat, the more you don't feel like you're getting full. These are all examples or symptoms of the fact that this reality has petered itself out for us. So this don't mean that we're supposed to just lay down and die, kill ourselves, but it is to mean that we are feeling these things for a reason. And these feelings are coming from a real and genuine place. It's not paranoia. You know what I'm saying? It's not a conspiracy theory. There's no such thing as a conspiracy theory when everything is conspiratorial in Western civilization. I don't understand how they can do that. Lawyers conspire with judges to get niggas locked up. Okay? Because the thing about it is, according to the real laws of the United States Republic, all lawyers are supposed to be arrested in this place. For you to be an esquire means that you are committing treason in the United States Republic. But these white people, the main ones that keep talking about the Constitution are the ones that don't like it, the ones that don't want to have anything to do with it, because as whack as it is, it binds them up too. They don't really have a means of expressing and what's really happening with them, because they don't really have a country. White folk ain't from nowhere. White folk ain't even from Europe. But yet and still, they want to tell a Mexican what he can and cannot do. You cannot continue a world like this. We all cannot continue this. Yet and still, we are not stepping up to the plate because you have all of these sympathizing black folk who are used to things. Just because you're used to something don't mean that you got to keep doing that, man. See, there's two sides of the government, too, okay, based upon the sociological influences that one side holds over the other. So let's just say one side of the game represents, let's say, the Brotherhood of Eagles, right? Then the other side of the game will represent, let's say, the Brotherhood of Death. Okay? So, let me plug this thing in. So on one side, like I said, you got the Brotherhood of Death, the Brotherhood of Eagles, right? So somebody like Bill Clinton would be in the Brotherhood of Eagles. Somebody like George Bush would be in the Brotherhood of Death. So the Brotherhood of Eagles, the eagle is symbolic of the scorpion. So anytime you see an eagle doing something, that's an image of a scorpion doing something. And the scorpion and the eagle are all basically predators. The thing about eagles is that originally, in the original republic, the eagle was not the bird that represented us. Other than the falcon, Heru, the turkey was used to represent us over here, which is why the turkey is sacrificed at Thanksgiving, because at one time that was like the national bird of certain nationals who existed in the old republic as free inhabitants back in the days. So the turkey is then used in that way. So the eagle became used later after the 1800s, after Thaddeus Stevens and them decided that it was a better bird. But the eagle is kind of whack in the sense that it has a real whack disposition. It looks great, but to keep it real, they're not really the best, like, let's say, sociable or social animals. You know what I mean? Like an eagle will kill everybody and leave their carcass out, but when the eagle dies, what it do is it flies to the highest point. Like you'll never find eagle feathers or eagle remains like just laying around in the forest. Why? Because eagles, after they kill everybody, but when they feel that they're about to die, they fly to the highest peak, the highest place that they can find, and die there, so that way nobody can find their corpse and they bones and stuff. But yet still, they can rip up everybody and leave their carcasses thrown all over the place. Who that sound like? The other thing about the eagle is that it fit their disposition as white supremacists in the sense because the eagle represented the fact that it had a twofold understanding. It had a white head, but then a brown or black body. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, it's occupying their space, and it was adequate enough for them to represent. So that represents them, let's say, the Brotherhood of Death side. So those people who consider themselves the Brotherhood of Eagles, they basically fall under what they refer to as the Malthusian Fabianists, meaning that they're followers of Thomas Malthus as well as Fabian Nzenza. And the Fabianists basically, all these guys set up different round tables, like in the 1920, they set up the Chatham House. In 1921, they set up the Council of Foreign Relations, and by proxy, basically, in the United States. And then by 1973, they set up the Trilateral Commission. And then from there now, this is the Rothschild side, they then bring out what they call the realist option. And these realists then fall under, well, like I said, the Fabian socialists, who basically are United Nations, where they basically use a co-op method. They co-opt what they need you to do or need them to be by acting like they're bringing democracy to people. So this would be culminated in CNN. That's a Brotherhood of Eagles channel. A Brotherhood of Death channel is Fox. Why? Because they fall from the they fall under, let's say, the how do you say this? I'm horrible at Eastern European dialect. It's called the Jabotinskyite. The Jabotinskyite. Yes, Jabotinskyite terrorists who fall under the old Ukrainian gangs and a lot of the old Russian gangs that they brought over here after the communist thing fell, the old Russian Federation fell. They would be referred to as the Ergun, the Haganah, Haganah, the Haganah, and one of the biggest Russian, Eastern European, Israeli, Mossad-backed cannibalist gangs is a gang called the Stern Gang, and these are the dudes that run all of the coke and prostitution and all of that falls in places like Bay Ridge and all of those places that used to be Italian and they turned into like Russian neighborhoods. The whole thing about the United States going hard against the mob, like remember between like the mid-90s and like the mid-2000s, you had all of these movies about the mob. You had Goodfellas, you had Bronx Tale, you had Casino, you had all of these movies about the mob. Whenever they start making movies in plethora like that, that means that they're moving on, or the people that they're making the movies about are basically extinct. So that's what they basically did with the Italian Omertan mobs. The Omertan, Omeraton programming that falls under the La Familia, La Cosa Nostra stuff, those guys associated with that all fell under the direct control of the CIA. CIA sacrificed them after the Russian wall, after the Berlin Wall fell, and after Russia basically flipped the glasnost shit. That's when they sacrificed the Italian mobsters and all of that to allow the Russian mobsters and all those guys to come over here because they would use them as a means to gather further intel on the reorganization of the Russian government. So you bring these niggas over here, you give them the means to keep their business and all that stuff going, and then this is when the whole human trafficking, white slavery shit became so prevalent. They started running all the whorehouses and everything else, just like the Chinese, just like the Mexicans, just like the Russians. Everybody, just like the Africans. Everybody's enslaving their own people. Don't you think that just because you see black people on TV, the majority, that they're the only ones doing it? No. Everybody, every ethnic group is doing this to their own people. Therefore, those people within those ethnic groups that's allowing that to happen to their people and not stepping to these people is really the problem. Because all of these gang organizations fall under, again, the Brotherhood of Death ideology. You see what I'm saying? So they're going to be supported. So in that, all of these Schietti terrorists, basically, by 1948, all of this congeals into the Israeli Mossad, which is also AIPAC, AIPAC, which is also GENSA, which is also AEI, which are also the Committee on Present Danger. These are all Zionist Blackwater type death squads. Okay? And then they, again, also are funded by who? The Rothschild. So you have on one side the Brotherhood of Eagles. When you brush it all down, it comes down now to the Rothschild funding in terms of a realist option, which is a co-op method. Then you have the Rothschilds and what they refer to as a neocon option, which then boils down to the Trotskyite Bolshevik infiltration and NATO and the so-called bludgeon method, meaning we're just going to, like, beat you to death with a pipe. And then if you come to consciousness, you know, if you survive that, then we'll turn you into, like, a little slave state or some other shit. So this is how they do. So you're talking about a fine line between two warring factions that are really the same group. Okay? So you have the Ford Foundation on top of that, which is really a CIA front foundation that funds a lot of subversion, a lot of subversives, and what they refer to as dissident entities, or what they refer to as counterinsurgency. So these are the niggas that's funding people like Jeremiah Wright, Churchill, you know what I'm saying, Amy Goodman, Madeleine Albright, these type of people. Everybody that, the Weatherman Underground, William Ayers, these people. The people who come out, who are white people that you see shitting on the government and talking about the government is this, and that, all of them people are funded by the Ford Foundation, which is, again, a CIA front. Then on the other side of that, you got the ATL, which is the Anti-Defamation League, which is really an agency of the B'nai B'rith, which the B'nai B'rith Lodge, that is a Jewish Mossad Israeli commando squad that deals with a lot of the hidden underground debt collection, strong arm and loan sharking that goes on within the Jewish community that you don't hear about. All that's B'nai B'rith run, right? These are also the phony white hate groups, as well as the anti-nationalists, or what they refer to as leftist groups, that basically get people like Michael Moore, Al Sharpton, Ben Jealous of the NAACP, Ben Chavis, the Urban League, Rosie O'Donnell, ACLU, all these niggas is funded by the same thing. Then outside of that network, you have, let's say, the Sabbatian conspiracy, which would basically be the fact that both sides are funded by the same people. So you have the private foundation network, meaning that those of us that get Pell Grants and get, like, endowments from different so-called family trusts, Caucasian family trusts that also act as endowments or granting Rhodes scholarships and these things. All of those were creations of the roundtable organizations that were basically being used to figure out ways to get people who were not Caucasian people to adopt things like the tenets of what they refer to, again, what they refer to as white supremacy. So within that, you have the private foundation network that basically creates all the sponsor, false hope, petition, rally, march, all of this bullshit that doesn't do anything to stop these people from killing people en masse. All of these things come from that, which are really just really big time sinks that basically just operate. Think about it. If there's no conflict, there's no controversy. If there's no controversy, there's no case. Therefore, if the case is police brutality, then the opposite then that means that the basis of what we're saying is that police brutalize and kill people. White America does not agree that police do that, even though they're bombarded with images of police do that every day. Why? Because they are been induced, again, by believing everything negative about original people. So, between the late 1800s and 1945, 98% of men in jails and prisons are white males. Between 1945 and 1965, you have an explosion of black men being thrown in jail and white men getting sentences commuted or lesser time and shit like that. And then everything began to switch. Why? This was a direct byproduct of integration. Because back in the days, black men did not go to prison because we wasn't good enough to go to a regular white prison with the white man. So what we had to do was get regaled to the chain gangs. That's where you hear songs like Berta that you see in the movie The Piano Lesson and all of that. Or like with the movie Life with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. That whole system was, chain gang system was the precursor to the prison industrial complex in which now melanated people were going to become the predominant. Remember, back in the Roaring 20s, the terrorist organizations, the mob, the Klan, the private bankers, the bootleggers, all of these is white men. All of the criminals that's doing all this shit, setting everything up, is the white man. To the point, even Kennedy's father was a bootlegger with Meyer Lansky and the rest of these niggas, man. But yeah, still, he could become president of the United States, no problem. Because when you live in a colorable society, you can do anything you want because essentially it don't exist. So they are presuming that you know that you don't exist in this thing. So they've renamed and got everybody to adopt a fictitious version of who they are. So that way when the fictitious version gets caught up in shit, you get caught up in shit. But how do white folk who get the same birth certificates and all that get out of it? They get out of it because they have family trust established for themselves. And prior to popular belief, anything done privately that's witnessed by two or more people and filed in a county court of record becomes law, which is why they're now trying to stop people from being able to file documents in public in a public record. But there's no physical law that says that you can't do that. They don't want to do that because they know once they accept the money for that filing that now they got to follow according to the guidelines of what you say it is. Because the beauty of what that is, you don't even have to tell them what it is. You just tell them what you can't do based on it. And they have to verify. And if they violate, they get penalized behind that. So then on the other side of the private foundation network, you'll have what you refer to as the Masonic Lodge networks. So within this, Judaism, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, all of this falls under that. Because these are run at the head of all these groups, religious groups and organizations. At the head of all of these groups, there's a Mason there. There's a Freemason there who is who is Islamic, who is having lunch or building with the Christian dude, and they're both building with the Jew dude. And none of them are talking about Jesus, Allah, or Yahweh in the lodge. They talking about somebody else. But then when they leave there, that's when they go to their separate groups and act like they all got beef. And we've seen the same thing in our community. How many times have you seen niggas bang on each other heavy, and then the next week you see these niggas on tape together, doing music and doing tapes and acting like they the best friends, and then 2 weeks later they all banging on each other, they throwing subliminal shots and shit at each other. How many times have you seen that? So if this is what is going on our, let's say, microcosmic level, think about the macrocosm now. Think about all of the people that they have to answer to. So at the head of all of these clergy things, you got these niggas and they little Freemason thing, and they doing their thing together. You understand? Then on top of that, you have the MI6 run counter gangs, which are basically like what they refer to in the craft, meaning in the CIA shit, they refer to these niggas as lowbrow pasties. Lowbrow patsies. These are the niggas who shot up the Norway thing. This is the Oswald. This is the guy who shot Kathy Gifford in the head. These are all of the one lone gunmen that is crazy that they done tooled up, and because the American people don't want to do no more investigation, they just put it all on him. Why? Because they are following the ritual of Rosh Hashanah. Yom Kippur. You put the sins of the entire community on a goat, and that goat becomes known as the scapegoat because you're putting all of the negative shit that the nation has done on this one goat. Then you lead the goat away up into a hill, and then you're supposed to cut its throat. This is what the Jews do every year. They ask forgiveness for lies that they're going to tell for the year ahead. You understand? So when they're lying to you within that year, they can do it because they feel they've already been absolved. They're still not getting in. You notice that the blackouters come down with the whole human trafficking sex ring of child pornography and child murders is going on in Crown Heights. They ain't talking about that. That's been a new media blackout on that now, too. They ain't telling people that they done dug up this man's basement and found more skulls and heads and all that shit. No, in order to see that, you got to go to BBC. You know what I'm saying? But I grew up in Crown Heights. I remember walking down the street and seeing what looked like pieces of animals and shit just thrown out in the street, living around them Hasids, man. Niggas can't tell me nothing about no Jew, about no Hasid and none of that shit, because I've lived around them niggas for years. And I've had discussions with them Lubavitches over there. The same ones that killed Gavin Cato. That ain't nobody even found out what happened with that. Because as soon as they killed him, ritualistically, they put that Jew on the plane and shot him back to Israel. He ain't been back since. But again, none of the black people in the community, we being preyed upon by these people, by these devils. You understand? So it don't have nothing to do with the fact that this person is a Jew or this person is white. It's even beyond that now, because you got black people that's implementing that. When the riots was going down in Crown Heights and we was out there banging and throwing garbage cans and all that shit in niggas' houses and all these Jews' houses and all that shit, you have they put the black police out there in the front lines. And then when shit got real hectic, they was beating niggas down. There was police that was getting beat up by white cops. There was black police during the riot that was getting beat up by white cops because the white cops couldn't tell who was who. But how you not going to tell who was who when this nigga got on the blue uniform? No, they take that as what they call shooting ducks in a barrel. It's easier. Because, again, you they enemy, too. These black pigs, these black soldiers, these people don't realize you the first one they're going to offer up. When shit get hectic, you going to be the one they're going to sacrifice. You going to be the one that they're going to put up and say, see, these are the niggas that was selling you out. I told you. They showed you in the Terminator. Shit got hectic. What happened? Arnold walked up in there with the heat and killed everybody in the police precinct. It would have been a totally different movie if the Terminator was Wesley Snipes walking up in there killing all them pigs. So again, we're talking about the methodical deterioration of the world as a conscious body of spiritual-minded people. So within that, like I said, in the Masonic Lodge Network, to add on to that, as we've gone from the lowbrow patsies, then under them you got the Islamicists, the Islamic fundamentalists, who basically do the staged terrorism psyop acts. And then under them you got the neo-Nazi Klan staged hate crime psyops that they be doing. Like with that white boy who beat up the black man with his friends and all of that. And then when the black man was crawling away on the highway to get away, he saw him in the car and ran over him twice. So again, when you as a black man start talking about shit like this or whatever, the first thing these apologetic Negroes will do is be like, oh, well, that's just an aspect of culture, and there's going to be good people and bad people, and this, or they're going to come up with every justification as to not stand up and say they don't like about the situation. Look around yourself. Look at the people around you. How many people in your life, how many people around you in your life actually stand for something? How many niggas actually believe in something and are willing to not only give their life, but to live for it? Fuck dying for shit. How many of us are ready to live to see a better day out of this shit? Dying is easy. Anybody could do that. Survival is easy. We've been doing that. How many of us are really ready to live? Because when you're ready to live, you don't just let anybody up around you. You don't just let anybody use things that belong to you. You don't do that. It's maladaptive. Don't let people feel that they could just use anything that you do or create to suit them and then not give you no fucking credit for it. Don't let people G you like that. Don't let people try to make you feel that you're egotistical because you want to keep what you got yours. It's okay to be selfish when it comes to shit that you know that you produce that comes from you. It's okay to do that. Because only you can be responsible for what it is you create or put out. You're not responsible for how people interpret that. But when you got, being that we're in a stage where niggas don't know how to create nothing no more because they done gave their soul up to involve themselves in worldly material shit around people who really don't even like them. You know what I'm saying? They done cut themselves off. So here you come free, unfettered, not really caught up behind what anybody else thinks. You don't really care about anybody's thing. You just do you. What happens then is that people then do things to draw you out. They try to take little jabs. They try to take little bites and shit off of what it is you're doing, and then try to flip it and bounce it and act like that's theirs, or act like if you say something, then it's like, oh, see, you tight. Oh, see, you insecure. Oh, see, you this. Oh, see, you that. No, that's a setup, nigga. I know a setup when I smell one. And black people have a habit of this shit, man. We have a habit of helping each other and then at the same time trying to use what we did for each other over each other. Nobody else do that. And I wouldn't know. Keep it real. Because once I find out that somebody is potentially on some bullshit or grimy, that's it. Because I don't have the luxury of indecisiveness in what I do. If I know you want some bullshit, that's it. So long as you stay away from me after that, cool. But what happens is niggas shit on you, and then they want to create an instance to come back and try to, like, reconcile and be cool. I'm not that type of person. I can forgive you, but I don't forget. And because I don't forget, my forgiveness is given, and then that's it. So I almost stop myself from feeling about certain things. And then when you do that, what happens is these people who do things strictly to get a rise out of you, strictly to get a reaction out of you, strictly to code you into some version of what they think you are, so that way they feel more cool about writing you off. This is what's going on in the black community, man. And again, I'm not talking about those of us that's doing the work, because those of us that's doing the work already know. This is for those people who act like they're doing it, who want to look like they're doing shit more than really knowing what they're talking about. This is going out to those people who want to look more intelligent than they really are, who want to convince you of some shit that they haven't done themselves, who want to get you to look beyond the fact that what they saying and what they doing don't link up. Like I said, you'll be banging on this nigga today, and then the next day, this nigga's on your show, and then shit is all good. No, I know that game, man. And again, that's a Masonic game, because that's the game the enemy's playing. So that means that, again, a lot of these niggas is down with that shit. And again, I'm not talking to those people who are in that's actually trying to do something specifically, whatever. But if you're getting personally offended by what I'm saying, then I guess that you represent and you are doing what I'm saying. Because anybody that ain't going to get upset. To the point that you got rappers now coming out co-signing the whole V-Nasty shit. You got rappers coming out on some like, yo, it's okay for her to say that. I'm going to give her a ghetto pass to do that. You understand? This is the level of self-hatred. So you know, people get into the whole nigga thing. Well, we shouldn't be saying nigga. Don't get mad if she's saying nigga. And how is it y'all can say nigga but nobody else can? Because we got it like that. Because that's how shit is. Y'all niggas can't say nigga the way we say nigga. And if you say nigga the way we say it, then you gonna catch it. So what? We could do what we want to do. It don't have to make sense to nobody else. Why is it we always trying to make sense for these crackers? Why is it that now that we start using it, it's a problem, but these crackers been calling us this shit since we've been here? Why? Because now we figured out that the word nigga means nigga. That the word Sambo come from Sambo Judaism, which means God. Big up to Eugene Chandler. So now that we done figured this out, we raising our vibration, we doing it now. Now nigga's a bad word. Now they get all these whack niggas to come out and say, oh, stop saying nigga, don't do that. No. To the point they got Paul Mooney saying this shit. Okay? As much as Paul Mooney be on tape specific, that's how I know. You could be sitting there talking to whoever, whatever more on tape or whatever. That shit don't mean nothing. I done seen Tommy Davidson sit down and talk to these niggas about Moorish shit. What the fuck are you really doing? Nothing. Nothing. You on tape with us talking that shit, but you ain't with some crackers doing that. No, because you got to be the funny man. Because what they don't tell you about that Hollywood shit is that whatever you come in first as is what you typecast as for the rest of your career. Unless you do some total other shit that's avant-garde in that. Perfect example, John Travolta. He could not get no work after Saturday Night Fever. That's how much people hated disco. No work. Until Pulp Fiction, really. He did Look Who's Talking and all that. That was cute, but nigga wasn't really checking for him. His career was over. They said the nigga was about to be evicted, foreclosed, homeless. That nigga did Pulp Fiction. Now he got his own plane. He his own plane. He got a fleet of planes. To the point they talking about giving Tyler Perry a network. Now what does that tell you, man? These black people don't give a damn about you, because guess what? They not black. Tyler Perry ain't black. Beyonce ain't black. These niggas ain't black. Halle Berry ain't black. These niggas is not black women. They're not black men. These niggas keep a Spanish, Latin, or white woman up under their arm. And Spanish and Latin women are black too. You know? But they don't think that. Because they'd rather be Spanish. You see what I'm saying? Because Spanish, there's a group of people conjunctive where they got their own language and they all working, in a sense, to another direction. They want to be represented that. So really there's no such thing as a Spanish. Really, Spanish people are actually Moriscos, if we really want to keep it real. They're Moriscos, or what they call Mudejars, which is little Moors, who are Moors, but they're not following Moorish habit. They're Moors who are following more of the modern Renaissance version of Europeanism. Unless they say that they black. You see what I'm saying? Unless they know. But they don't be wanting to do that. Why? Because we don't have no collective power. We got influence in terms of what we create. But when it comes to actually doing something and setting up something where we have our own, we have yet to do that because of integration. And all of these black civil rights lawyers and all these niggas was the ones who sold it to us or sold us out with it. And all the niggas is gone. Thurgood Marshall gone. He was the one who argued the case. People don't know. Judge Joe Brown was the judge who sat on the case when they was going through who really killed Martin Luther King. People don't know that. He was the one when all of the other shit started coming out in terms of investigation about the FBI and CIA and these niggas being involved. He's the one who made the evidence showing and proving that fact inadmissible. Judge Joe Brown. The one always calling the black people crackheads and shit on this show. These black people hate black people. You understand? And it's real, man. And I know, people can get upset, you can be upset in terms of like, oh, well, you're always banging and talking about blacks and how we don't get together and all that. Because somebody got to say it, man. We're not here just to make everybody feel good every week. We're here to build on what's really happening, man. And they have created a prison summer camp for your children, black people, that the state legislator is supporting. The mayor of Philadelphia is a black man. He's the one on TV I saw today saying that if we see any kids out on the street after a certain time, we locking them up, and the parents is going to be fined. But they only doing that to the black neighborhoods. We are being preyed upon wholesale, but regardless of who or what, with all of the murders, with all the abortions, with all of the serial killings, with all of the self-hatred, with all of the prison, with all of the homosexuality, lesbianism, all of the AIDS, and all the shit that we allegedly suffering from, guess what? We're still the majority. We're still here. Their birth rate is still 0. Don't believe me? Go to the National Population Index and see where white people are going to be within the next 3 years. To the point, like I said, what we say on this show is real and is being parroted now by a white aristocratic sociologist named Stackley from London, who's basically saying that there's no such thing as white people no more because they done all been niggerized. The same shit we've been saying. The person the being who really opened my eyes to that was Brother Daoud. And building with him and seeing certain things. And then when I started applying some of the things that I understood of what he was saying and went even further in, I really seen that this is actually part of their plan. They don't love white people either. These white people think that these white people love. No, the Tea Party is a bunch of patsies. These niggas don't know what they doing. They think that they in control. They think they running shit. But them niggas under the whip too. From who's paying their checks. And all you got to do, if you ever want to find out how connected these niggas are, go to any organization that has a listing and go to the board of directors. Who's at the top of the board of directors? And then start mixing and matching how many board of directors this one name or this one person is on. You will be surprised. Same thing else. You want to find out who's responsible, who's running shit? We said this on the show before. Get the book Creature from Jekyll Island. Get a list of the first founding members of either the Trilateral Commission or this Council for Relations or whatever. And then find the oldest male descendants, and then basically follow their children. You will find these niggas in every facet of society. But what you'll also find is that a lot of these people don't appear in America until after 1945. So what does that say? Most of these niggas that's brought over here were straight Nazis anyway. But the white man will allow Nazis to run his country because, again, the eugenicist movement was really founded over here first. The Wilmington race riots that they talk about in history books is actually a cover for the Declaration of White Supremacy that they all agreed to follow in Wilmington, Virginia in 1899. And all of these guys are descendants from the Redmond Whig Party, the Whigamores. All the way going back to another thing that you don't hear about in history anymore called the House of Burgess, which was the Universal Apprentice Hall for the Science of Law and Government that Ben Bay and those noble Moors basically created to teach these devils how to run a society for themselves. So they on their little feudal order shit, basically, and it's getting really crazy. So now they're trying to talk about getting rid of the Federal Reserve and all that, but it don't even matter anymore. Because really the Federal Reserve, all of that falls under the Bank of England that was founded in 1694, and all of that then ties go back to Rome, the Vatican. So you have the secret intelligence services, right, which then gives birth to the enforcement arm of MI5 and MI6, which is the British Secret Intelligence Service, which then proxied itself into the OSS, which then eventually became the CIA. So that means that CIA is under the jurisdiction of MI6. They ain't going to say that directly, but again, the United States never broke away from England. We've already given the documentation to show that. Then on the other side of that, you have the private foreign controls. You have the private foreign controls that basically fall from the City of London, right? But the City of London is not technically a part of England. That is its own corporation. The same way the Federal Reserve, Washington, D.C. is not a part of the United States. Just like all Army bases are not a part of the United States. Therefore, Fort Hood, Fort Dix, Fort Andrews, none of these things are part of the United States, but they're here. How can that be? You can only have a here and not here type of in-between thing when you're dealing with a fictitious, colorable government. You don't have that in a republic. You either exist in a republic or you don't. In a democracy, you can kind of like fudge it and be whatever you want. You see what I'm saying? So then in this now, the propaganda arm for both of these things is the Tavistock Institute, founded in 1921, which is the behavioral sciences that created a lot of the trends and things that go on here. Where do you think planking came from? Where do you think owling is coming from? Who's creating this? Who was the one who said, okay, we need to start wearing our pants backwards? Who did that? Who started that? What nigga in the hood started that? Where do you think that came from? Where do you think the trend came when brothers was wearing T-shirts that went all the way down to their ankles, almost like dresses? Where did that come from? Who said that Atlanta was going to be the new birthplace for the new chocolate city for black people? Who created that? Where did that come from? When did that start? Who initiated that? You see? You don't know. And this is what I'm saying. We do not control the intelligence that comes into our community, so we are subject to whatever. Now is the best time that you need to, if you could get 10 black men, 10 to 20 black men together in any one block and given neighborhood to say that we are going to be our neighborhood watch, quote unquote, our so-called black police force, quote unquote, and this is how we're going to do it. We don't need your permission to do so. We got a signature from everybody in the block, and that's enough. If every one of us in the country did that, police brutality would drop. Why? Because we would have our own police to protect us from the fucking police. But niggas don't want to do that. Niggas would rather join the army than start a revolution. Niggas would rather talk about setting something up instead of actually doing it. Why? Because to actually do it means that we have to stand for something. And what we talked about earlier is that most of our people don't stand for shit no more, man. We're not passionate about nothing. To the point that if you become passionate, with the fact that if you become passionate and start speaking like this or about things like this that you are duly informed on, people are going to be like, oh, you taking it personal. Oh, that's not cool. Oh, you giving too much. You spitting too much fire. Why is that? Why is it always a limitation when it comes to us expressing ourselves? Why is it that if I see something I don't like and I say that, yeah, I don't like it, or if I see a rapper biting or somebody biting something that I'm doing and I say that you biting, now I'm a hater. How can that be? When I grew up in a culture that when I was back in the days rapping and breakdancing on linoleum and cardboard and shit and going to block parties, if you said somebody else's rap, whether we knew it or not, if we found out niggas was beating you down, that's the type of hip-hop I remember. I don't know what these niggas is doing. But again, you got these niggas that's apologetics because when you get out of control dough like that, you can't have an opinion, Jay-Z. You can't have an opinion, Oprah. You can't have an opinion about anything that is going to show that you know that these motherfuckers is the devil. You can't say anything like that. And if you do, we either going to Boston breaks you, you know what I mean, hit you with the sudden AIDS, do whatever they do to these niggas, and they do that because you signed an oath to be down with them. Because what they don't tell you is that contract that they give you for the record company is also a binding coercive contract. It's an adhesion contract to your soul. You are dealing with sorcery. We are dealing with sorcerers. We are dealing with straight-up cannibalistic magicians who practice things like agora, things like avatism, things that we in the black community don't even know what they are. And these niggas is working us with that shit every day. This is what I mean, y'all. Be passionate about something. Have an opinion about something. Prune your garden. Make sure you don't have weeds around your family sucking up energy, sucking up air, sucking up more and more time, more of your precious time to waste on them when they ain't producing and giving you nothing. Ma'at is balance. It is not balanced to give somebody what they are not giving you. That is not positive. You understand? Don't let these people who are in this metaphysical, esoteric, occult, exoteric mystery systems that we be building on and all this shit, don't let these niggas make you doubt your common sense. Don't let these niggas tell you shit just because they have been doing it for a long time and they sound like they know what they talking about, man. Ask questions. Put these niggas on the spot. Ask them what their acumen is. Ask them if they have implemented this themselves and if they have seen it work. Don't let them just tell you anything. Don't let them just create a situation where just because they are the one that's giving the knowledge that you feel like you can't express yourself or ask something because you don't want to look like you don't know in front of people. We're not in school. That's what we used to do in white man school. This is the real school. So now is the time you're supposed to express yourself for what it is you want to know and be found qualified for. Don't let these niggas G you that everything is based on your diet, that if you eat this, then you're not going to be able to ascend and do. Don't let niggas put limitations on you that don't exist, that you're not going to put on yourself. Don't let these people tell you shit that you know instinctively is just not true. Don't let them feel that if you express yourself or what you don't want to do based upon the fact that you may not feel like that, don't let them feel like you're not being positive or you doubting or you bringing energy in that's not really conducive to you getting where you need to go. You're attracting all this negative energy to you and blah, blah, blah. Don't believe that shit, man. All that shit is New Age shit, man. All that shit came from Valdo Valerian. That's where that woman is God shit came from, too. Not throwing shots, not saying that, but that's when I was reading it, I was doing the knowledge to that. This is the dude who came up with the Matrix books. Another dude named Russell put that out there too. I forget the white boy's name, but it's something Russell, and he was talking about all of that. Just like all of the black reptilian shit, all of that. If that's the case, how come ain't no one black person here in America, here in England, here wherever you got, different pockets of consciousness that understand reptilian shit, how come none of us have ever seen somebody shift in front of us? How come you never seen no baby-born reptilian or nothing? How come? So what, only white people could be reptilians? Just like what, only white people could be abducted by aliens? Just like what, only white people could be possessed by demons? Come on, man. Come on. Let's be real, y'all. Let's use our metaphysical, intuitive, psychic abilities and bring it into a real context. If it don't make sense on a common sense level, that means it's not real, man. How you going to get money back from somebody who's about to be fired? They about to get rid of Tim Geithner. I told you he was indicted from last year. The only reason why they kept him in was because of the fact that they got certain agreements through Goldman Sachs. That's who run the Secretary of Treasury right now, Goldman Sachs, through Henry Paulson. That's who's going to be in charge of the chargeback of you getting your unlimited credit on is this nigga. And these are the people who got the stimulus and didn't give nobody nothing behind it. So you mean to tell me these people all of a sudden, the Empress Veridice went to these niggas with everything to the point where she got a letter from George Bush telling these white people to get up off her land. But again, the follow-through, the people around her, the people behind her, the people in the administrative positions. This is an old woman. This is an older woman. So she can't be expected to take shit to the next level. This is what we're supposed to be doing. But how can we do that when you got all these different versions of it now? Same thing with the Moorish History. Same thing with all of the groups. How many times have you seen a group start and then once the group gets notoriety, somebody in the group splinters out, creates another group, and then somebody from that group splinters out, creates another group. All of that is evidence of government infiltration. You know what I'm saying? Because these people are not innovators. They're not innovative. They're not creative. They know how to exploit what already exists. So all they do is just put out a hypothesis that they could do something, and we mentally take it all away for them. Me and the Queen was looking at that Watch the Throne video. And remember, a throne is an order of angels that fall below the archangels and that basically are above above the principalities and below the archangels, and at the top is the hierarchy, the Elohim. You know what I'm saying? So to Watch the Throne, talking about two guys who are basically trying to represent themselves in some type of angelic frequency, which is why they was all in all white and all of that. But again, these niggas are still driving Miss Daisy because in the back seat of the whipped out Maybach is a bunch of white girls. These girls wasn't with you in the hood, nigga. These girls wasn't with you when you had to get quarter water or you had to get bailed out or whatever. There was no white girls there. White girls and these exotic girls only start to notice you when you become a rapper, when you start making money like that. So we're good so long as we're smiling and entertaining. Like Paul Mooney said, nigga, if you grin, you win. You know what I'm saying? He said that nigga Wade Brady is a throwback nigga. He got a process, he got a perm, he smells all his songs, say he's gonna win. And he does, and I've been looking at that shit. Every nigga who got a constant grin on his face is winning in a society. So again, these niggas with all this money, you got double rollies or all this or whatever. You talking about her ass swallow up a G-string and all this other shit, but you only with white girls. What does that say? You see what I'm saying? It's a foregone conclusion that these people have already eclipsed themselves. So those of us in our community that want to be down with that lifestyle and that vibe, we need to be on it. You need to fuck with them niggas and get in. Stop fronting and acting like you don't want to be down with them. Be down with them. You see them, Jay Electronica? See? See? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay, how is it now? Can you hear me now? Okay. What about now? Everybody can hear me, right? Because I'm still on this thing. It's the same. You know how they do us when it comes to this shit, though. They can still hear me, right?
I can hear.
No? Yes, no. Yes, no, no, yes. Anybody? What about now? Awesome. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, so all these niggas all this guy had to do if he was a real president of the United States was call for a clean bill act or a clean act or a clean bill. He could have done that. And that would have frozen everything, and nobody could get no money to the United States to get back on point. But you know what? He don't want to do that. He wanted to destroy the economy because that's what he was set up to do. And this is what we wanted. Remember, conscious people? We said that we wanted that into Western society, the fall of America, and all this crap, right? That's what we wanted. So now let's get into that. Now you got niggas like Cornel West and Tyler Smiley trying to act like they always been down with us, talking about, oh, this nigga whack. He only listen to white people. He a puppet. He can't do nothing. Yeah, but nigga, you wasn't saying that when you was bigging this dude up, trying to get him in. The first black president, what's more important? Having the first black president or the first original black nation of original people that don't have to partake in this bullshit? What's more important? I know what's more important to me. You know what I'm saying? But that's not what I'm going to get. I'm going to get the opposite of that. Because what's important to me may not be important to the rest of the world. You understand? Because the rest of the world is been making money off of the fact that we have not been sitting in our original throne. So when we talk about really watching the throne, what are we really talking about? You know what I'm saying? So it's always that. It's always niggas making excuses and acting like they're harder than they really are. So of course you have these, and the reason why I use these rappers as examples is because they have more influence over black people than people like Jesse Jackson, than people like Obama and everybody else. That's why these niggas being targeted and used the way that they use. But you think these niggas will come together and try to do something? No. Because the last time they did that, PFC wound up dead. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, you want to find out where everybody's straw man is? The straw man, everybody's straw man lives in the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation at 55 Water Street. So when you fill out your UCC documents, I'm giving you the G for real. When you get to the occupation and the address of the debtor, that's where you put it. You don't put your own address or the P.O. Box address that you get in the mail or whatever forwarded to. You put 55 Water Street because that's where everybody's birth certificate is housed, and that's where they run it from. It's a clearinghouse. It's just like the Chapman House that I was talking about earlier, connected to the, to the Malthusian Fabianists. Okay? So do the knowledge to that. So now, just like I said, they trying to put everybody back in the 80s. Remember, in the 80s, we was dealing with USA for Africa, right? So here it is now. We're dealing with the USA for Somalia. They're trying to create another We Are the World thing the way they did with Haiti. But them Haitian people still ain't got their money. Wycliffe ain't talking about that, though. You see what I'm saying? They tried to puppet him and try to see if the people was going to allow him to be president. Thankfully, the people was like, nah, you already know that you the puppet, nigga. But either way, he can't come out and say what's really going on over there. When I see him, he walking through the thing after the Haiti thing, I'm watching him walk through with the army with Matt Damon in military gear. I don't see him walking with the people. So again, he may have charities for Haiti and all of that, but I live around a lot of Haitian people. And I don't see nothing. I don't see these niggas helping nobody. So as much as these rappers say we got charity organizations and this and that, I don't never see none of that. Everybody know the charity organizations is a front. Everybody know the majority of that money basically is done as write-off, so that way you can get that money that you put up back from the same fictitious government through a 1040 ES. I know the G. Ask yourself this: how can you work for a non-profit or not-profit organization and still get a salary? Only in America, man. Only in America you can do that. Because America don't exist. It don't exist like that. It exists in the mind of the people, just like the Standard & Poor credit rating that they went down on these people with, that they still bitching about, and they don't know what to do with it now. Now they trying to say, oh, Standard & Poor, that don't really mean nothing. It meant a lot when they was giving you the 3-star credit rating, though. You was bigging that up all the time. Standard & Poor, we 3-star credit. Now y'all been downgraded. Now what? Oh, it's Standard & Poor is not that important. Niggas be hating, man. Niggas be hating. And what it is nobody's keeping it real. The only people who keep it real in a society like that other than us, you know what I'm saying, that I be seeing like in mainstream entertainment, be certain comedians. You know what I'm saying? Remember when he was dying of SARS? Remember when he was dying of anthrax? Remember when he was dying of the bird flu? Remember when he was dying of the SARS, anthrax, bird flu? There was another one they had too. I forget the other one. But they always got another one. West Nile virus. That's the other one. All of these things are created where? Plum Island. Where's Plum Island? Off of New York. Where they going to move Plum Island now? They trying to move Plum Island, where they created all of these racially specific diseases. They're now trying to move Plum Island to the heart, into Kansas, into the heart of the American, infrastructure. They're trying to move it and make it even worse. They're trying to put these people even more into the debt. You know what I'm saying?
Wait.
You know? My son is so sovereign, he don't even know when it's time to bed. He just be on his sovereign like, nah, I'm 3 now, I'm just trying to stay up late. And it's like, nah, son, we all got things that we got to do, responsibilities that we got to be responsible for. And one of these responsibilities is making sure that we have enough time and enough sleep to figure it out. However, I don't know about you, but there's an aspect of you now that's almost like perpetually awake, where I'll eat, and don't feel full. Or I'll go to sleep, wake up, still be tired. I start my day as early as I can and still can't get everything done in it. Shit was not like that a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, it seemed that I couldn't do enough, or that everything I was doing was enough. Now it seems like I got to do more to get more. Why? Because the economy is structured such now that everything has been downgraded. So in a downgraded credit system, that means that in order for you to your dollar to stretch longer, you have to maintain an aspect of financial security, meaning that you got to keep it open. You can't necessarily put yourself in a position to know that when it comes to the actual credit rating in the United States, that really was already done because they've always been bankrupt. The United States is an NGO. If it's recognized as a country now, that means that somebody else can put some money up for it to look like that. And that would usually be the creditor. So when you become a creditor, you become a creditor in the United States. That's one of the, I guess, advantages of that is that you go down on a document in terms of UCC says that you go down in the document listed as a creditor for the United States. But you don't necessarily have to follow UCC 1 to do that. But it's just more cooperation for the fact. You know what I'm saying? So essentially, we've created a situation where we can perpetually be about what we want to do. And now is the best time to do it, just based on the fact that you have all of these killings and all this other shit that's going on. But again, black people have to find a way out of what they have put themselves into. And Western society has proven that it is has a negative effect on us because we don't have our own anymore. And when we say that we do or whatever, those of us that have it or whatever, great. But there has to be a way to consolidate it enough to be able to see that everybody can see an aspect of things getting better instead of a few people. So again, your people are those people who are functioning and dealing with the things that you are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, man. If they're not doing that, then that's not your peeps, man. And people who do things to make you doubt yourself or always casting doubt on what you do or is trying to make it seem like you're something that you're not, that you're egotistical, they're always misinterrupting or misrepresenting what you're saying, those people are not your friends. You know what I'm saying? And those people are feeders. I've had them in my life for years. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, it wasn't until I stood up or the Queen stood up and said enough is enough. You see? We don't have nobody that do that. It seems like everybody in our community want to get along with everybody and act like that's real. It's kumbaya, and it's not really like that. So you act like you get along with niggas, but then the next week you talking shit behind your back, behind this person or this chick or whatever. That's not real. I would rather not be friends. I'd rather people know I don't fuck with certain people. So that way nothing get twisted. That way I don't have to act like I'm cool with this person because this person is putting it out there that we be rolling this shit together. No, we don't. And there's nothing wrong with that because guess what? You're not supposed to get along with everybody. Name one time in our history that we all totally got along. I could give certain instances in times we had huge epochs of time where it was just peace. But shit started deteriorating when we felt we were disrespecting or we weren't being respected from one another. Or we started giving this devil more benefit of doubt than us. To the point where we saw Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And we was talking about it the other day on the show.
Go in your tub right now. Go in the tub right now.
Talking about it on the show. And to the point that the black man's name in the movie was Yaqub, man. And the white scientist was there. He had to kill all of, they had the needle, they had the nurse, they had the doctor. All you have to do is get to 1 to 40 and read the 28th degree. Read the 28th degree, then get the bootleg and watch Rise of the Planet of the Apes. It's the same thing. To the point, again, that they named the black scientist who was the head of the whole shit, Yaqub. So if they're not telling the truth on themselves, I don't know who or what is. We are the ones that's acting like that shit don't exist. Yaqub ain't real. The whole science and the private white man, no. You understand? He'll bluff with you. But when you know who you are and what you're capable of, what somebody else is or where they are, who they came from, does not matter. We are all here to be living representatives and examples of what to do when the rubber meets the road, when you either have to stand for something or fall for everything. And that's what's going on. So the most stories or negative stories you hear about me is, oh, he's egotistical, or, oh, he don't want to work with nobody. Right? You ain't going to hear about me swindling people. You ain't going to hear about me having sex with other people's wives. You ain't going to hear about me beating niggas down, pulling hammers out on people. You ain't going to hear none of that about me. Selling coke, none of that. None of that. And if you do, it's a damn lie. Because I don't know what coke or whatever I'm flipping when I'm on the radio every damn Monday night.
Well, we live in a building in Brooklyn, and our landlord have like coke bitches over.
Yeah, but
who doesn't? But that's what I said. Somebody must have come here and said, wow, their neighbor, I know he's in something. My neighbor looked like an obvious crackhead in Brooklyn. And he was as cool as shit and give me free red snapper and give me free fish too. Great dude, but he like
some of the best people in the world are the people who are the most dejected.
But he did that. That was my neighbor, not me. So the friends that came by to try to spread that, it's just cute because it's not true.
Exactly. And more than that, on top of that, when you got niggas around you that's constantly, you are constantly the butt of their conversation and everything else, you dealing with people who are obsessed with you. And don't think that because you're not famous or you're not on TV or you don't have that you can't have obsessive, compulsive personality, people with these disorders around you. You got them. Look around you, man. Make objective assessments. Protect yourself before they try to infect you with their bullshit, man. Love yourself enough to not entertain people who hate themselves, because they will hate you and convince you or try to convince you to hate yourself as well. We are all born under the same vine and fig tree. We are all born in sin. Sin do not mean sin like you're a sinner. Sin is another name for moon. So we are all born under the light of the moon and the light of the sun. But the moon is the predominant energy because that is the energy that we first come out of, because darkness exists so that way light can express itself. Light does not move faster than darkness, because if it did, light would not have to escape the dark. Therefore, the speed of light is immaterial to the speed of darkness. And if we descend from the original dark matter, dark energy universe that is the real universe, which is Universe B, that we are on the verge of walking into, to the point that they've created a movie to kind of categorize this called Another Earth, where a parallel Earth has come into contact with the real Earth, and people from this Earth are curious to go to that Earth to meet the other version of themselves. That's what we've been talking about on this show since we started, man. And niggas were saying, oh, you want some science fiction shit. Oh, that's not real. You want some extra blah, blah, blah shit. But niggas will always say that, because really the stuff that we're doing is really not even for us. It's not for the people. I don't do this for my peers. I do this for the people directly, and deal with the people directly, because I've had more substantive and more direct and uplifting situations by dealing with people directly, as opposed to creating a venue in which I got to, in a sense, work with the people through somebody else who may or may not be doing it, who think that we're doing the same thing, because we're not. Nobody is doing what I'm doing, just like nobody's doing what you're doing. Only you can do what you do. Therefore, you should always be in control or strive to be in a dominant position of what it is you project. Because in reality, the only thing that truly exists is that which comes from our inner mind's eye. So I'm not the type of person that would just do some shit and just throw it out there. I'm not the type of person who likes to talk about a lot of shit before I actually do it. I'd rather not say something and let it pop. I'm not into getting people hyped and geeked off of what I'm not into it like that. And I'm just sharing this as a personal thing with me. So that way, again, you know who I am. Because a lot of people, again, will say things and do things, but then at the same time, you know, with all of the knowledge and culture shit we doing, Prodigy, one of the first people to come out and start talking about the Illuminati and all that shit, gets locked down for it. This nigga gets out, writes a book, exposing a little bit more here and there, but more like rap gossip. The first interview he do on Illuminati, whose show he go to? Alex Jones? Come on, man. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? That's how I know these niggas don't know what they talking about, man. You gonna go to the Jesuit show? Of all of the shows that exist on Block Talk everywhere else, that I know that this nigga knows of, you gonna go to Alex Jones, nigga? Why? Because KRS-One did. So what? You want to create the new thing, so that's going to be the new thing now when rappers get politically conscious or whatever, correct, what, they going to go on Alex Jones and start handing Illuminati niggas out? Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on. So, thank you guys for coming through again this evening, building with us. We're going to be on this Friday night, this Friday coming from 9 to 11, just like we did tonight. Friday's show would just be calls. To do 20 minutes of a little dissertation, and the rest would just be all calls, because we couldn't get into them tonight. Anybody interested in our August 24th class, 2011, on establishing self-executing family trust, holler at me at houseofl@hotmail.com, or send me your email directly with the inquiry of it, and we'll send you the flyer, the registration flyer, and everything you need for it. And anybody else interested in some of the historical stuff that we've been talking about, please check our website, www.Aseer.com. Please spread it. Let everybody know that it exists, and that if there's any other website with my material on it, they're not sanctioned by me, so they bootlegging. So pass the word, please. Also, please check out www.sagaside.com. My brother, he got an album coming out called Nonprofits, real hot. Also, again, anybody interested in building on us in this up-and-coming class cycle, thanks to everybody that's been participating in all of the cycles we've had. We're now in our 13th cycle. We've been going in hard for about 2 years now with it, and it's been consistent. So thank everybody who's ever supported or wanted to support coming to class. And we still have registration fees. Yeah, we work with payment plans and all that, and plus we're not hitting people in the head with it like that. So please email me directly, houseofl, HOUSEOFEL, @hotmail.com. Hotmail.com. Also, please check out www.aseertheducateers.com. If you have any questions, anything you want to build on or whatever, holler at me again through the email. I think Facebook posted my number on some hating shit, but whatever. It's not like people don't know anyway. And I ain't got nothing to hide, so I ain't tripping. And please, do the best you can to reach your own level of excellence and not anybody else's. Don't let anybody pressure you into consciousness. Don't feel like you have to be the go-to person for what it means to be a conscious black man or black woman. Be as conscious as you can be in the moment, but be a realist and use common sense. Please, for all of us, man. Because the work that we're doing and what we're seeking to establish is really not for us. These people have saddled their children, their children's children, and their children's children with a debt that can never be paid. So eventually somebody's going to call in a note for that. So hopefully by that time we'll have something solidified for ourselves so that way we can do something better. But we ain't going to get it if we still integrate it or find new ways to become more and more American, which means becoming more and more Caucasian, which means that they'll be trying to become more and more black or original, which can never happen. However, according to the 1 in 40, it says that in order to get a devil to be grafted back, it takes 600 years. We 250 years in. So let's do it right, y'all. And with that, we say peace.